This story is titled, My Girlfriend Said, What if you're not the father of our son? She later claimed she was just kidding when I asked for a DNA test. She gave me an ultimatum. Either drop it or she'll leave. But I need to know the truth. All right, Reddit. This is going to be a long one, so buckle up. Never thought I'd be posting here, but I literally have no one else to talk to about this shit without being judged. Been with my girlfriend Lilia, 26 female, for about 2 years now. I'm Jake, 28 male, just your average dude working as a sales rep for a medical supply company. Nothing special, but pays the bills, you know? We met at my buddy Dave's housewarming party. She walked in wearing this red dress, and man, I was done for. Like, legit couldn't even form sentences properly. Somehow managed to get her number and started dating like a week later. We moved way too damn fast. Moved in together after only 5 months because her lease ended, and she was like, it just makes sense financially. And my dumbass was like, hell yeah, it does. Got her pregnant 4 months after that when protection broke, and the morning after pill didn't work. Classic fuck up, right? But honestly, after the initial shock wore off, I was actually kind of pumped about becoming a dad. Always wanted kids, just maybe not this soon. Lilia had a really rough pregnancy. Threw up like crazy the first few months. Not just morning sickness, but like all-day sickness. Then came these mood swings that were next level. Like crying because the pizza place forgot her garlic dip 1 minute, then laughing hysterically at cat videos the next. I tried to be understanding because, hormones and growing a human and all that. But it wasn't just the mood swings, she was acting a bit off during her pregnancy. Like this one time around month 3 of the pregnancy, I picked up her phone to check the time while mine was charging. She literally jumped off the couch and snatched it out of my hand so fast she almost dropped it. Got all weird saying she had private work stuff on it that patients wouldn't want others seeing. She's a receptionist at a dental office. Like, what super secret teeth records you hiding? But I let it go. Then there was that weird phase in the second trimester where she kept talking about this coworker, Travis. Travis said this, and Travis thinks that, and Travis is so funny. Then suddenly, after she got pregnant, she went complete radio silence about Travis. Like his name was banned or something. When I asked about him once, like, hey, whatever happened to that Travis guy you were always talking about? She got all defensive. Why are you so obsessed with my coworkers? That's weird, Jake. Never mentioned dude again. Super sus looking back. The doctor appointments were another thing I should have paid attention to. First few months, she wanted me at every single one. Taking off work, rescheduling my stuff, the whole deal. Then around month 5, suddenly she's like, you don't need to take time off work for these routine checkups, it's just boring weight and blood pressure stuff. When I insisted on coming to one because I wanted to see the ultrasound, she rescheduled it twice. Said the doctor had emergencies. There was also this weird thing with her mom, Carol. Carol and I always got along great, but during the pregnancy she started giving me these looks, like sad puppy eyes or something. One time she hugged me way too long after Sunday dinner and said, "You're a good man, Jake," in this weird voice. At the time, I thought she was just emotional about becoming a grandma. But stupid me, I brushed all of this off. Pregnancy hormones, I told myself. She's growing a human. Cut her some slack. You're just being paranoid. I made excuses for everything. Our son Milo was born 3 months ago. Came 2 weeks early, according to Lilia, but the nurses kept saying what a healthy size he was for being premature. 7 pounds, 8 ounces. I didn't think much of it at the time. Too busy being amazed that I was actually someone's dad now. They even let me cut the cord and everything. I cried like a baby myself, TBH. It was the best day of my life. First few weeks were rough with the no sleep and constant diaper changes, but we got through it. Lilia's mom came to stay with us for a week to help out, which was honestly a lifesaver. She cooked, cleaned, even took night shifts with Milo so we could get a few hours of uninterrupted sleep. Super grateful for that. But there was something off. Like, Carol kept watching me when I held Milo. The same weird, sad look. Like I was some kind of charity case. I figured maybe she was just emotional. New grandma, first grandkid, all that. One night, I was passing by the kitchen to grab a drink and heard her say to Lilia, "You need to tell him." Her voice was low, serious. Before I could step in, they both went silent. I walked in like nothing happened, and Lilia plastered on this big fake smile while Carol suddenly got way too focused on stirring whatever was on the stove. I didn't think much of it at the time. I figured Carol was just telling Lilia to be more open about how exhausted she was. She'd been pushing the whole, you need to communicate your needs thing ever since Milo was born. So later that night, I casually brought it up, just to check. What did your mom mean earlier? When she said you need to tell me something? Lilia barely looked up from her phone. Oh, that. She just thinks I need to tell you how overwhelming this all is for me. You know, new mom struggles, sleep deprivation, the usual. That made sense. I mean, you can talk to me about that stuff. You know that, right? She sighed. Yeah, I know. She just worries too much. I let it go. In my head, it was just Carol being Carol. Overly involved, overly emotional, always trying to give Lilia advice she didn't ask for. But I tried to be as supportive as much as I can. Milo's a cute kid. Got these big blue eyes that everyone says will probably change color eventually. Lilia's eyes are brown, and mine are green, but apparently that's normal genetic stuff. When my mom visited and said Milo doesn't really look like me or anyone in our family, Lilia practically dragged my mom outside for a private chat. Came back in all fake smiles, but I could tell she was pissed. I did notice Milo doesn't really have any of my features. Not my nose, not my chin, nothing. But lots of babies just look like potatoes at first, right? So yeah, that's where things were at 3 months in. Me playing happy dad, Lilia being weird about her phone, and getting all defensive anytime someone mentioned who Milo looks like. But everything changed last Sunday at dinner with Lilia's parents. We do this thing where we go over there every other weekend. Carol makes lasagna or pot roast, Frank, Lilia's dad, talks about his fishing trips, and we all pretend we're the perfect little family. Usually boring as hell, but whatever. Free food. This particular Sunday started normal enough. We show up around 5, Lilia carrying Milo in his car seat. Carol immediately takes him while making those weird baby noises adults do. Frank gives me soda, and we head to the living room while the women do kitchen stuff. Yeah, I know how that sounds, but that's just how they roll. I've offered to help cook before, and Carol acts like I suggested burning the house down. Frank's watching some trashy TV show. One of those Maury-type deals where they do the dramatic paternity test reveals. You know, where the dude is either crying or doing backflips depending on if he's the dad or not. I'm half paying attention, scrolling through my fantasy football lineup on my phone. Lilia comes in from the kitchen with Milo, plops down next to me on the couch. On TV, there was some guy is literally jumping on furniture, screaming, "I told y'all I ain't the daddy!" while the mom bursts into tears. Classic trash TV. I glance at Lilia, expecting an eye roll or some snarky comment about how ridiculous this show is. But nope, she's laughing. Like really laughing. A little too much. It starts off normal, but then it just keeps going. Louder, high-pitched, almost forced. She's clutching Milo like she's afraid he's gonna float away, her face turning red. Damn, I say, raising an eyebrow. Didn't know this was your kind of humor. She waves a hand, still giggling. It's just, God, these people. She gasps between laughs. It's so dramatic, like, can you imagine? And then, completely out of nowhere, she blurts out, "What if you're not Milo's dad?" Then she laughs again. But this time, it's different. It's not the belly laugh from before. It's weird, high-pitched, almost robotic. Like she's forcing it out, trying to cover up the fact that she just said something really, really dumb. The room goes dead silent. Frank mutes the TV mid-paternity test reveal. Carol, who's in the kitchen stirring a pot of sauce, drops a spoon so hard it clatters against the floor. I just stare at Lilia. My brain stalls. Like, what the actual hell did she just say? She's still holding Milo, but she suddenly looks like she wants to disappear. Her eyes dart around the room like she's trying to gauge how bad she just messed up. Then, in a voice way too eager, she quickly adds, "I'm totally kidding. Look at his chin dimple. That's all you." Her fake smile is so forced it might as well be drawn on with a Sharpie. Except, I don't have a chin dimple. Never had one. But you know who does? Lilia's brother. Frank cleared his throat and cranked the TV volume back up way too loud. Carol called from the kitchen that dinner was ready, even though I could see from where I was sitting that she was still stirring the pasta. The rest of dinner was awkward as hell. Frank kept talking about fishing lures way too enthusiastically. Carol barely said 2 words, just kept giving Lilia these shut the fuck up looks whenever she tried to start a conversation. Lilia was doing this nervous thing where she talks too much and too fast about nothing important. I just focused on eating, holding Milo when he got fussy. On the drive home, I tried bringing it up. That was a strange joke at your parents' house. She got super defensive right away. Oh my God, can't you take a joke? It was just because of that stupid show your dad was watching. Why are you being so serious about this? It just seemed like a weird thing to joke about. And you said he has my chin dimple, but I don't have one. Jesus, Jake. It's just a stupid dimple. He has your eyes. He definitely doesn't have my eyes either. Mine are green. Lilia's are brown. Milo's are bright blue. I took high school biology. I know that's not how it's supposed to work. But I didn't say that part out loud. I'm not trying to start a fight, I said. It just caught me off guard. Well, stop making such a big deal about it. God, you're being paranoid. Is this because your ex cheated on you? Are you projecting that shit onto me now? Low blow. My ex from college did cheat, and Lilia knows that's a sore spot. But bringing it up felt like she was trying to make me the bad guy for questioning her weird-ass joke. We drove the rest of the way in silence. I kept replaying the moment in my head, the way she said it, the panic when no one laughed, the way her parents reacted, not confused, but like tense, like they knew something. I don't know why it made me look into things closer, although it was just a joke. That night, while Lilia was in the shower, I found myself staring at Milo in his crib, really looking at him for maybe the first time, trying to find myself in his face. His hair is darkening to a color closer to Lilia's. His nose is tiny and turned up like hers. Mine's a big old schnoz, thanks to my dad's Italian genes. His eyes are nothing like either of ours. Could be normal, right? Genetics are weird. Not every kid is a carbon copy of their parents. But combined with that comment, I couldn't stop the thoughts from spinning in my head. The next few days, I tried to observe her closer to see if there were any signs. And honestly, nothing felt different. Lilia was the same as she'd always been, busy with Milo, exhausted, but still joking around with me like usual. If anything, she seemed more affectionate, always leaning against me on the couch, kissing my forehead when she passed by. Little things like that. The comment at dinner was still nagging at me, though, but she didn't act weird afterward. No nervous energy, no avoiding me. If I brought up Milo, she was just as doting as always. One thing did stand out, though. The gym. She started back up a few weeks after Milo was born, which I didn't think much of. She'd been really into fitness before the pregnancy, always talking about how she couldn't wait to get back into her routine. Now she was going 3 times a week, always at the same time, never missing a session. I joked one night, "You're more committed than I am. Maybe I should start tagging along." She barely looked up from folding Milo's onesies. "Babe, it's literally the only thing I do that's just for me. Can you please let me have this?" It wasn't even said in a defensive way. More like she was exhausted and begging me not to take this one thing away from her. I backed off, told her I was just joking. I started to think maybe I am overreacting. But then, about a week after the dinner incident, I overheard her on the phone with her sister. I was in the living room with Milo while she was in the bedroom, door halfway closed. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but her voice was loud. "I don't know what the hell I was thinking, Callie," she groaned. "It just came out before I could stop it." She paused, then laughing. "I know. I know. It was so stupid. You should have seen his face, though. And my parents, oh my God. You could hear a pin drop." More laughing. I felt my stomach tighten. Her sister must have asked if she cleared it up because Lilia sighed. "Yeah, I told him it was a joke. I mean, obviously. It's not like I'd actually—" She cut herself off. "Anyway, yeah, he seemed fine after." I should have walked in. I should have asked right then why the hell she even felt the need to clarify that. But instead, I just sat there, bouncing Milo on my knee, pretending I didn't just hear something that made my chest feel tight. But I think she noticed how I'm being too aware lately because she was fetting weird about me holding Milo lately. Before all this, she was happy to let me take him so she could nap or shower. Now she's constantly hovering, taking him from me saying he needs his mommy, whenever he makes the slightest fuss. And when my mom visited last week and innocently commented that Milo doesn't look much like our side of the family yet, Lilia nearly had a meltdown in the car afterward. Called my mom judgmental and said she was trying to cause problems. My mom is the sweetest person ever. Definitely wasn't trying to start shit. I kept trying to squash my suspicions. Told myself I was being paranoid. But that stupid comment at her parents' house had planted a seed in my brain, and it was growing roots by the day. I started Googling stuff like, how to tell if baby is yours, and when do babies start to look like dad? Late at night when Lilia was asleep. Read that babies often look more like their dads early on, as some evolutionary thing to make sure dads stick around. But Milo? Nothing about him screams Jake Jr. The suspicions kept growing, and I started seeing Milo as a random kid that's not mine. I noticed myself going too far, but I didn't know what to do about it. I needed evidence. The breaking point came 3 nights ago. We were arguing about whose turn it was to wash the bottles. I'd been working overtime all week and was dead tired. Lilia was complaining that she'd done them 3 nights in a row, which wasn't even true. It was twice. But whatever. Mid-argument, she pulled the ultimate mom card. "I pushed out your son? The least you could do is wash his bottles without bitching about it." Something in me just snapped. Before my brain could stop my mouth, I said, "Is he actually my son, though?" Because I'm starting to wonder. Holy fucking shit. The look on her face. I've never seen someone go from angry to ghost white terrified that fast in my life. She literally froze for like 3 full seconds, just staring at me with her mouth open. Then she exploded. I'm talking nuclear level meltdown. How dare you? I carried him for 9 fucking months. I've been up every night with him while you sleep through his crying. And you have the nerve to question if he's yours? What kind of monster does that? She was screaming so loud I was worried the neighbors would call the cops. Milo started crying in his crib from all the noise, but I didn't back down this time. If there's nothing to hide, let's just do a DNA test and put my stupid fears to rest. Should be no big deal if he's mine, right? That's when she completely lost it. Grabbed a vase off the coffee table and threw it against the wall. Glass shattered everywhere. Then she started sobbing, like full-body heaving sobs. I'm not subjecting my son to a test because you're insecure. If you don't trust me, what do we even have? How can we be a family if you think I'm a liar and a cheater? She stormed into the bedroom, and I went to check on Milo to make sure he was okay with all the yelling. When I came back out, Lilia was shoving clothes into a duffel bag. What are you doing? I asked. I'm not staying here with someone who thinks I'm a whore, she said, still crying. I'm taking Milo to my parents' house until you get your head straight. I tried to calm things down. Lilia, come on. We need to talk about this like adults. There's nothing to talk about. You either trust me and drop this or you don't. It's that simple. She packed up Milo's diaper bag, grabbed him from his crib, and was out the door before I could even process what was happening. Sent me a text 20 minutes later saying she'd made it to her parents' place safely. Like I gave a shit about her at that point. I just wanted to know Milo was okay. I didn't know what to think after she left. The weight of it all hit me at once. What if I was wrong? What if I'd just blown up my entire family over paranoia? But at the same time, what if I was right? And if I was, then what the hell had the past year of my life even been? She stayed at her parents' for 3 full days. Her mom called me on day 2 to say I should be ashamed of myself for accusing Lilia of such a terrible thing. I asked Carol point blank if she knew for sure Milo was mine, and she hung up on me. That told me everything I needed to know. Lilia came back on Friday, walked in all calm like nothing had happened, said she'd been thinking about things and could understand why. I might have doubts given my past with cheating exes. She gave me an ultimatum. Drop this paternity question completely, and we can work on rebuilding our trust, or we're done. I won't raise my son with someone who doesn't trust me. Notice how she said my son and not our son? Yeah, I caught that too. I decided to play along, just to know the fucking truth. So I pretended to agree, told her I was sorry for overreacting, that I loved her and Milo, and wanted us to be a family. She seemed to buy it, but things were still tense all weekend. Lots of fake smiles and forced conversations. But in my head, I knew what I had to do. This wasn't going away. That comment at her parents' house, her extreme reaction to me asking for a test. I needed to know the truth. So on Monday, I ordered one of those at-home DNA paternity test kits online. Paid extra for next-day delivery. It showed up Tuesday while Lilia was at work. I hid the box in my gym bag in the trunk of my car. I tried to act normal for the next few days. Pretended everything was fine, helped with Milo, did the dishes without being asked, even brought Lilia flowers one night to really sell the I'm over it act. Inside, though, I was a fucking mess. Barely sleeping, checking her phone whenever she left it around, which was almost never. Even followed her to the gym one day, but didn't find anything off. On Thursday, I finally got my chance. Lilia said she was going to take a long shower to relax. Milo was napping in his crib. Perfect timing. I grabbed the test kit from my car, read the instructions like 5 times to make sure I didn't mess it up. You're supposed to swab the inside of the kid's cheek, then do your own, seal them up separately, and mail them off. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely open the package. I crept into Milo's room, staring at this little dude who might not be mine. He was out cold, doing that twitchy dream thing babies do. For a second, I almost backed out. What if I'm wrong and just destroying my relationship over nothing? But then I remembered Lilia's face when I asked for a test. Not confused or hurt, scared. That's not how innocent people react. I gently swabbed the inside of Milo's cheek, trying not to wake him up. He stirred a little but didn't wake up. Sealed that swab in its container. Then did my own cheek. Sealed it up, packed everything back in the envelope with my credit card info. The shower turned off right as I was finishing. I shoved the envelope in my pocket and barely made it back to the living room before Lilia came out in her bathrobe. She asked what I was doing and I said I was just checking on Milo. I mailed the test on my lunch break the next day. Paid $200 for rush processing. They said results would come in 2 to 3 business days. Thought I was in the clear until Saturday morning. Lilia was doing laundry. Yeah, I know I should have done it myself. Rookie mistake. And found the DNA lab receipt in my jacket pocket. I'd completely forgotten it was in there. She came into the living room where I was feeding Milo, holding the receipt like it was covered in shit. Lilia stormed into the living room, gripping a crumpled receipt in her hand like it was evidence in a courtroom. Her face was red, eyes wild. "What the fuck is this?" she spat, shoving the paper toward me. I barely glanced at it. I already knew. Milo started fussing in my arms, squirming like he could feel the tension in the room. I took a deep breath and met her eyes. "It's exactly what it looks like," she yelled. "You went behind my back? After you promised me you were done with this? When did you even swab him? While I was in the shower? Are you freaking kidding me?" She was screaming now, that Milo let out a sharp wail, and I instinctively pulled him closer, rubbing his back. She was too worked up to be holding him. "If you've got nothing to hide, why are you so afraid of the results?" My voice was steady. I wasn't about to match her level of hysteria. Not in front of Milo. Lilia's whole body trembled as she sucked in these sharp, uneven breaths. Then she broke, full-on ugly crying. "Even if he is yours, you've ruined us," she choked out between sobs. "How can I ever trust you again? You went behind my back. You took my baby's DNA without asking me." I walked over, gently setting Milo in his swing. I needed my hands free for this conversation. "I won't apologize for needing to know the truth." My voice was firmer now. "But I am sorry I had to do it this way. You left me no choice, Lilia. This doubt has been eating me alive." Her sobs hitched and she wiped at her face angrily. "Why couldn't you just trust me?" I laughed, a bitter, humorless laugh. "Are you serious? After everything? You make that weird-ass comment at your parents' house, then freak out anytime someone mentions who Milo looks like. I try to talk about it, and you shut me down. I bring up the timeline, and you get defensive. What was I supposed to think?" She went quiet, her lips pressing together into a tight line. "When do the results come in?" Her voice was small now. "Monday or Tuesday?" A slow nod. She stared at me for a long moment, then tilted her head. "And if they show he's yours, what then?" I didn't even hesitate. "Then I spend however long it takes making this up to you, rebuilding our trust, proving I love you and Milo." And I meant it. I really did. But then her expression changed, darkened. "And if they show what you're thinking, that he's not yours?" That caught him off guard a bit. I hadn't let myself fully think that far. "I don't know." Lilia inhaled sharply, then turned on her heel. She scooped Milo up from the swing and held him against her like a shield. "I'm taking him to my parents for the rest of the weekend." I didn't stop her, just nodded. "Probably for the best," I muttered. I needed the space, because if those results came back how I suspected they would, I had no idea what I was going to do. She packed a bag and left within 30 minutes. I spent the weekend alone in our apartment, and it felt like my whole world was balanced on the edge of a cliff, about to go over. The email with the test results came in Monday morning while I was at work. I took my lunch break early and went to sit in my car to open it. It was one of those moments where time slows down, you know? I legit sat there staring at the unopened email for like 10 minutes before I had the balls to click it. The results were right there at the top in big bold letters. Probability of paternity, 0%. I threw up right there in the parking lot. It felt like someone had ripped my heart out through my throat. All those night feedings, all those diapers, all those times I'd told him I loved him, all based on a fucking lie. I called my boss and told him I had a family emergency. Drove home in a daze, almost ran a red light because I couldn't focus. Just kept seeing those words. 0% probability. Lilia had texted that she was coming home after work to talk about whatever the results said. I texted back just 2 words. "They're in." She must have left work early because she showed up at the apartment less than an hour later with Milo. She took one look at my face and knew. "Jake, please let me explain." I just held up my phone with the results. 0% Lilia. 0. She broke down immediately, put Milo in his swing and collapsed on the couch sobbing. Between hiccups and tears, she finally told me the truth. Apparently, last year, after we had that big fight about me going to Dave's bachelor party in Vegas, she got even by going out with her work friends. Met up with Travis, her coworker, at some bar. They got wasted and went back to his place. According to her, it was just once. I took Plan B the next morning, I swear, but it didn't work. By the time I realized I was pregnant, we were so happy together. I convinced myself it had to be yours. The timing was so close. "You let me believe he was mine for a year," I said. "You watched me paint his nursery. You let me cut the fucking cord at the hospital, Lilia. Who does that?" She kept reaching for me, but I backed away. I couldn't stand the thought of her touching me. Travis doesn't want kids. He made that clear from the beginning. But you're already such a good dad to Milo. He loves you. We can work through this. Have more kids. Our kids. Stop. Just stop. I grabbed my keys and phone. I'm staying at Dave's tonight. When I come back tomorrow, I want you gone. Jake, please, we can fix this. She was hysterical now. I didn't say anything, just walked out while she was still crying and begging me to stay. Blocked her number as soon as I got in the car. Drove to Dave's place and told him everything. That night was rough. I kept scrolling through pictures of Milo on my phone, trying to see if there was any part of me in him at all. There wasn't. Just Lilia and fucking Travis. I took the next day off work. Couldn't face people yet. Around noon, I unblocked Lilia's number just to see if she'd left the apartment. Had 47 texts waiting. Mostly variations of please come home and we can work this out and Milo needs you. I replied with one text. Are you out of the apartment? She said yes, she was at her parents'. I went back to our place. My place technically since I'm the only one on the lease. Walking in was surreal. She'd taken most of Milo's clothes and toys, but his crib was still there. His baby swing. The changing table I'd put together while she was 8 months pregnant. All I could think about was, how the fuck did this become my life? I spent that night making lists. Practical shit I needed to do. Find a lawyer, figure out if I'm legally responsible since my name is on the birth certificate, decide if I should break the lease or kick her out permanently. And just like that, I found myself in a legal nightmare. Since my name is on Milo's birth certificate, I'm legally his father in the eyes of the court. Doesn't matter that the DNA test says otherwise. In this state, if you sign the birth certificate, you're accepting responsibility as the father. Period. The lawyer explained that I need to file a petition to disestablish paternity as soon as possible. There's a limited time window to challenge paternity after discovering you're not the biological father, and it varies by state. In my state, it's 1 year. If I wait too long, I could be on the hook for child support for the next 18 years for a kid that isn't mine. Imagine? 18 fucking years. But here's where it gets even more complicated. Just filing the petition doesn't guarantee the court will remove me from the birth certificate. The judge has to consider the best interests of the child. So even though Milo isn't biologically mine, if the court decides I've established a father-son relationship with him, they could still make me legally responsible. When the lawyer told me this, I nearly lost my shit right there in his office. How is that fair? I was tricked into believing I was this kid's father. I didn't choose this. He stayed super professional, though. Said our case is strong because Milo is only 3 months old, so the relationship isn't that established yet. Plus, we have clear DNA evidence I'm not the father. And we know who the potential biological father is, Travis. The plan was to file the petition to disestablish my paternity and simultaneously file to establish Travis's paternity. We're going to force that asshole to take a DNA test and take responsibility for his kid. Lilia was served papers on Friday. She showed up at my apartment that night, completely hysterical. Wouldn't stop banging on the door and screaming until I threatened to call the cops. The neighbors definitely heard everything. How could you do this to Milo? She kept yelling through the door. He's innocent in all this. Yeah, no shit. So was I. But I wasn't the one who created this situation. She finally left when I started recording her meltdown on my phone through the door crack. Smart enough to know that wouldn't look good in court, I guess. Her dad called me the next morning. Frank's always been a decent guy, so I took the call. He was calmer than Lilia, but still pretty heated. Son, I understand you're hurt. What Lilia did was wrong, but that baby boy needs a father. I cut him off. He has a father. It's her coworker, and your daughter knew that all along. Long pause. Then, did you ever consider that maybe Lilia made a mistake, but she chose you to be Milo's dad because she knew you'd be good at it? That maybe this was her messed up way of trying to build a family with you? Frank, she lied to me. Every single day. She watched me build a nursery for a kid she knew probably wasn't mine. How would you feel if someone did that to you? He sighed. I'd feel exactly like you do. But I'm asking you to think about Milo here. I know that little dude didn't do anything wrong. But neither did I. I'm sorry, Frank, but I can't raise another man's child that was born from a lie. I just can't. Sunday, Lilia texted that Travis is refusing to take the court-ordered paternity test. Says he knows he's not the father and that she's trying to trap him. Ironic, right? What goes around comes around. In the preliminary hearing, Lilia showed up with her own lawyer. I expected her to contest everything, but surprisingly, she didn't. Her lawyer said they're not opposing the petition to disestablish paternity. They're just requesting visitation rights for me if I want them, since Milo knows me as his father. The judge ordered Travis to appear for a DNA test next Monday. If he doesn't show, there could be a warrant issued for him. The court finally ruled on my case 6 weeks after my last update. My name has officially been removed from Milo's birth certificate. I'm legally not his father anymore. Might sound weird, but when the judge made it official, I felt this weird mix of relief and emptiness at the same time. That dude, Travis, finally took that fucking DNA test, which confirmed what we already knew. He's the biological father. Now he's legally responsible for child support. My lawyer says I'm lucky this didn't drag out for years, which apparently happens a lot in these situations. Small victories, I guess. After the court ruling, shit got even weirder. Lilia called me crying, saying Milo was sick with an ear infection and Travis wouldn't help. "You're the only one he knows," she sobbed. I hung up on her. The next day, she showed up at my apartment with Milo, banging on the door and crying. I didn't answer. Watched through the peephole as she eventually gave up and left. She slipped a note under the door that just said, "He'll always be your son in the ways that matter." I burned that shit in the kitchen sink. Had my lawyer send her a cease and desist letter after that. She hasn't contacted me since. It's been hard, not gonna lie. For the first month after the court decision, I'd wake up sometimes thinking I heard Milo crying in the other room. Would actually get out of bed before remembering he wasn't there. Was never really mine to begin with. I ended up taking Dave's advice. Donated literally everything baby related to a women's shelter. The crib, clothes, toys, all of it. Kept absolutely nothing. That was a rough day, boxing all that stuff up. Found this daddy's best buddy onesie I'd bought him before he was born. Almost kept it, but knew that would just mess me up in the long run. Got a transfer to my company's Austin office. New city, new apartment, new phone number, whole new start. Told only a couple close friends where I was going. Complete fresh start. For anyone else going through something similar, get the DNA test right away if you have any doubts. Don't wait. And lawyer up immediately. The legal system isn't designed to be fair to guys in our situation. Also, finding out that someone you loved could lie to your face every day for a year really fucks with your head. Makes it hard to trust anyone. I'm working on that in therapy too. I don't think I'll post about this again. Closing this chapter of my life for good. Moving forward, focusing on myself, my job, my dog, reconnecting with old friends who don't ask about the baby. Thanks guys for helping me through the darkest time of my life. For all the advice, support, and just letting me vent. It meant more than you know. Edit. To the people asking if I'll ever date again. Yeah, eventually. Just not ready yet. Trust issues, you know? Edit 2. For everyone asking about Travis. Last I heard, Lilia was taking him back to court because he missed child support payments. Not my circus, not my monkeys.